Is Sri Lanka about to become the epicenter of a tussle between two economic superpowers? Good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News on TV1. Today is the 1st of August 2022. I'm Jayamal Ratnayaka for the Newsfirst team. Here are your headlines for tonight. Monsoon rains begin. Flood warning issued for Ratnapura. Now is not the right time for Gotabaya Rajapaksa's return, says President. Is Sri Lanka in the midst of a diplomatic row due to a Chinese research vessel? Gas prices likely to drop soon. Unidentified body washes up on Goldface beach. Sri Lanka needs practical solutions and not change of heads, says opposition leader. In a top story for tonight, many areas in Sri Lanka experienced torrential rainfall today, leading authorities to issue extreme weather warnings. Inclement weather caused damages in various areas as well. We are now joined by Senitha Senanayaka from the Weather Centre for a comprehensive update on the matter.
Welcome to Newsfirst's Weather Centre, where we bring you the latest updated information with regards to the weather situation in the country. I'm Senitha Senanayaka. As you know, the country experienced several downpours and strong winds today, and this is because of the southwest monsoon. Because of the southwest monsoon, Sri Lanka is experiencing winds travelling towards towards the northeast direction, and because of the heavy downpours and the strong winds the country experienced today, the Kalu River had overflowed. The Kalutara District Secretariat told Newsfirst that low-lying areas in Kalutara have been inundated. She also told us that preparations are underway to face a possible flood situation. Now, the highest rainfall that was recorded during the 24-hour window that ended at 8:30 a.m. was recorded from the area Wattavala. Wattavala recorded a rainfall of 168.4 milliliters. Moreover, incidents where mounds of earth collapsing have also been reported in several areas. We can now take a look at the situation in Ratnapura.
Many low-lying lands, including the Sivali grounds in Ratnapura, are currently inundated. District Secretary Malani Lokupotagama says water levels of the Kalu River continue to rise. Areas in Ratnapura surrounding the Kalu River have surpassed minor flood levels, and according to the District Secretary, precautions have been taken to endure a major deluge if required. Many areas of the island have been experiencing heavy rainfall since this morning. Floodwaters engulfed most of the Navalapitiya town as a result of continuous rainfall. A risk of the Ransagoda area in Makandura flooding has intensified after water levels of the Kirama Ara in Matara rose as a result of constant rainfall. According to our correspondent, many lowlands in Deyandara are already underwater. A tractor had been washed away by the heavy current in Neralampitiya along the Hakmana Mulatiana road. A house sustained heavy damages in Valigama when a branch of a tree at the Jinaraja College in Kumbalgama collapsed onto it this morning. However, no casualties were reported. A grandmother and her granddaughter were swept away by a strong current while attempting to cross a stream in Polpitiya, Lakshapana. The 60-year-old grandmother lost her life following the tragedy, while the 5-year-old child is missing. The duo had been on their way to preschool. Train travel along the upcountry railway line was temporarily halted after a boulder collapsed onto the track from Hatton this morning. A building collapsed onto a shop in Hatton earlier today. No casualties were reported.
Now, the Met Department has expressed the following views regarding the prevailing weather situation in the country.
ඉදිරි දින කීපය තුලදී දිවයින හරහා තියෙන වර්ෂාපතනයේ වැඩිවීමක් අපි අපේක්ෂා කරනවා.
Over the next few days, we expect the increase in wind speeds and rainfall over the island. Tidal waves might also form in the sea off the coast of Beruela to Colombo and up to Pothole. Waves of 2.5 to 3.5 meters in length could form as a result. This, however, is not a tsunami threat. According to our analysis, this situation could arise from time to time in various degrees until the 3rd of this month.
tsunami අනතුරක් කියන. ඒතර මේ තත්ත්වයේ ඉදිරි දින කීපය තුලදී විශේෂයෙන්ම 3 වෙනිදා වෙනකන් අඩු වැඩි වෙමින් පවතින තත්ත්වයක් තමයි දැනට අපිට මේ විශ්ලේෂණවල පෙන්වන්න කරන්නේ.
Early landslide warnings have already been issued to 7 districts. Apart from that, the Met Department has advised not to venture into seas of Puthlam, Colombo, Gaul, Hamantota and Pothole for fishing and naval activities until further notice. We will bring you the latest developments, latest information with regards to the weather situation in the country. Stay tuned to News First.
We now shift your attention to the political sphere in the country. Speaking to the Wall Street Journal, President Ranil Vikrama has said it was not the right time for former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to return to the country as it could inflame political tensions.
President Vikrama said in an interview with the Journal, quote, "I have no indication of him returning soon," end quote. He also told the newspaper it would be months before Sri Lankans would see any marked improvement in their economic circumstances. The Wall Street Journal report said President Vikrama expected the IMF staff-level agreement to be reached by the end of August, adding that Sri Lanka will have to secure upwards of $3 billion from other sources next year to support essential imports including fuel, food and fertilizers.
Sri Lanka defaulted on its debt for the first time in its history this year as the country struggles with its worst financial crisis in more than 70 years. If Sri Lanka is to overcome this crisis, the island nation must reach an agreement with the International Monetary Fund as soon as possible. However, the IMF says that a program would require adequate assurances on debt sustainability from Sri Lanka. In simple terms, it means that Sri Lanka must now show its capability of repaying the loans that it obtained from bilateral and multilateral lending partners and from the international debt market. Therefore, Sri Lanka must restructure its debt, and it has hired leading financial and legal advisory firms Lazard and Clifford Chance LLP to support its debt restructuring. The United States of America, that has a major say in the IMF, is nudging China, the largest bilateral creditor to Sri Lanka, to help restructure the Chinese debt of the bankrupt country. Traditionally, China grants a grace period to settle the debt or will offer another loan to settle the previous loan. However, never has China shown any interest to slash these loans. It now appears that the United States of America is not agreeing to these traditional forms of debt servicing. The United States of America operates in the region via agreements reached with India, Japan and Australia, also known as the Quad. The Indian government assistance to Sri Lanka has reached almost $4 billion since January this year. India also wants to see Sri Lanka move towards debt restructuring for the island nation to come out of the crisis. India backed Sri Lanka, which is grappling with its worst ever economic crisis, by affirming full support to expedite International Monetary Fund's Extended Fund Facility. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has affirmed the support during talks in Washington, D.C., USA. While Sri Lanka is hopeful of securing an agreement with the International Monetary Fund soon, the country is now about to face a new crisis. This is because a Chinese scientific research vessel is about to reach the southern Sri Lankan port of Hamantota as India and China race for ocean dominance. The Wang 5, a Chinese scientific research vessel, will enter Hamantota port on the 11th of August for a week. It is expected to leave on the 17th. The website of the Belt and Road Initiative Sri Lanka notes that the Wang 5 will leave the southern Sri Lankan port after replenishment. Thereafter, the Wang 5 will conduct satellite control and research tracking of China's satellites in the northwestern part of the Indian Ocean region through August and September. The Belt and Road Initiative Sri Lanka said that the ship has by far sailed safely over 580,000 nautical miles and completed 80+ tasks at sea. The Wang class ships hold very special respect in China as it features the success of China's ambitious space program since the 1950s. The Belt and Road Initiative Sri Lanka said that the Indian Ocean does not belong to a particular state and it consists of over 35 nations that either border or are in the Indian Ocean, which also includes several European countries which administer several dependencies or overseas territories in the region. It adds that the incoming Wang 5 is clearly registered under IMO's identification number and has gone through the formal international regulations, including the United Nations Convention of Law of the Sea, before entering Sri Lankan territorial waters. It noted that China is not the only nation to operate similar vessels. Indian, French and American vessels are also freely moving in international waters without any limitation. However, Indian media reports that the exact purpose of the vessel's visit to Hamantota is unclear. According to the print, such vessels start their movement when China or any other country is carrying out missile tests, adding, quote, "It is not a military vessel though. Such Chinese vessels have operated in the area before and India has always monitored their activity," unquote. The Wang 5s are operated by the Strategic Support Force of the People's Liberation Army and is one of China's latest generation space tracking ships used to monitor satellite, rocket and intercontinental ballistic missile launchers. Indian media also reported that India has formally lodged its concerns with Sri Lanka, adding that its arrival was not in compliance with the United Nations Convention of Law of the Sea. It is clear that the visit by Wang 5, a Chinese scientific research vessel to Hamantota, is gradually leading to a diplomatic spat between India and China. China said it was conducting military exercises off its coast opposite Taiwan after warning Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the US House of Representatives, to scrap possible plans to visit the island democracy. Will Sri Lanka have to face negative diplomatic issues due to the Indo-China race for ocean dominance based on these developments surrounding the Wang 5? It is due to these reasons that we repeatedly called for action to protect the sea of Sri Lanka, which is 8 times the landmass of our country. Sri Lanka is currently going through its worst economic crisis, and if Sri Lanka is caught in the middle of a diplomatic issue, it is the people of the country who will have to face the consequences. Shouldn't Sri Lanka intervene and ease tensions between these two nations so as to avoid this matter from transforming into a diplomatic tension? In more news from here at home, YouTuber Rathidu Senaratne, also known as Ratta, was arrested this evening.
YouTuber Rathindu Senaratna, also known as Ratta, had visited the Colombo Crimes Division this evening to provide a voluntary statement over an incident surrounding Pathum Kerner, who was previously arrested. Counsel for Rathindu Senaratna said that officer from the special unit of the Slave Island Police visited the CCD and arrested Senaratna. Counsel said that he was arrested over a case filed at the Fort Magistrates Court. Police stated that the Colombo Central Crimes Division had arrested Rathindu Senaratna on charges of damaging public property during a protest at Bank of Ceylon Mawata on the 21st of May.
The Colombo Chief Magistrates Court today ordered to remand Aragala activist Daniz Ali until the 15th of August. Aragala activist Daniz Ali was arrested for forcing his way into the Sri Lanka Rupawahini Corporation and demanding the transmission be interrupted. Colombo Chief Magistrate Nandanamara Singh said an announcement will be made on the 15th of August with regard to bail for the suspect. When the case was called up this morning, the suspect was not produced in court by prison officers. The prisons department was ordered by the chief magistrate to produce the suspect in court on Tuesday.
The body of another unidentified male washed up on the Galle Face beach this morning, making it the second body to be discovered in the area within a week.
The body of an unidentified male washed up on the Galle Face beach early this morning. However, the body was not taken ashore at the time. Around 5:30 a.m. in the morning, the body had drifted back into the sea. Again, at around 9 a.m., information was received that the same body had once again washed ashore. The victim was only wearing a blue t-shirt and is believed to be one over the age of 40. The identity of the body remains unknown. On the 29th of July, a body washed up on the Galle Face beach, and it was later identified as an 18-year-old advanced-level schoolboy from Kottava. Relatives said that the teenager was missing since the 27th of July, and they filed a missing persons complaint with the police on the 29th of July. According to the relatives, although the death was ruled as a drowning victim, it is still uncertain as to how he died. Over the past 2 weeks, 2 other bodies washed up on the Vellavatta beach. On the 26th, a body of a male aged between 35 and 40 was found on the beach near the Vellavatta Coast Guard post. The Vellavatta police stated that the person was identified and the body was handed over to the relatives. It was confirmed that the body that washed up on the Vellavatta beach on the 13th of July was of a 45-year-old resident of Nugegoda. The Vellavatta police stated that both the bodies found on the Vellavatta beach have been confirmed as drowning deaths and that there are no criminal charges related to those deaths.
Up next is Crime Watch.
Crime Watch.
2 people were gunned down by motorcycle murderers in the past 48 hours. These brutal killings were reported from Ratkama in Galle and Vivekananda Road in the Foreshore police area. Speaking to Newsfirst regarding the shootings, police spokesperson SSP Nihal Taldua stated that investigations are underway and suspects are yet to be identified. Meanwhile, 3 suspects have been arrested in connection with the murder of Stephen Vinothan in Modara Red Banavatte on the 6th of June by an armed group that arrived in a 3-wheeler and a motorcycle. The suspects were arrested in a raid conducted by the Intelligence Division of the Special Task Force in Grand Pass. 17 people were brutally gunned down by the armed gangs in June and July in Sri Lanka.
Several social activists convening a media briefing alleged that attempts were being made to suppress the activists from the people's struggle.
It is evident that the government is hunting those engaged in the struggle. In addition to the arrests, we see that incidents of intimidation are also taking place. They claim that becoming a part of the struggle is a crime to society. Various groups that are not connected to the police or the army are visiting residences to intimidate the people. The Ranil Wickremesinghe government is attempting to suppress the youth groups from the Aragalaya. Daniz Ali, Veranga Pushpika, Pathum Kerner, Ismat Maulavi and other comrades have been arrested. Ranil Wickremesinghe and the officials are in those positions because of the Aragalaya. They are in those positions with zero mandate. They are attempting to suppress the protesters through violence. We condemn this entire process. The president assumes the Aragalaya is a nuisance to him. That is why he is trying to suppress it. You cannot solve the issues in the country by suppressing these movements. He should find out other ways to keep the promises he made to the Pothole tour. Suppressing the Aragalaya is that way. Those at the Galle face did not set fire to MPs' houses. We do not justify those actions. However, it is the gang that protects the Rajapakshas that is the root cause of this.
The Inter-University Students' Federation also spoke about suppression of dissent.
ජනාධිපති මන්දිරයේ විදුලි ස්ථිරීකය ගත්තේ කවුද? ෆ්‍රිජ් එකේ තිබුණු ගස් ලබු ගෙඩිය කෑවේ කවුද? ඒ වගේම ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ ඇඳේ තිබුණු සරමැන්දේ කවුද? Wi-Fi පාවිච්චි කරේ කවුද?
Who stole the iron from the president's house? Who ate the papaya in the fridge? And who wore the sarong in the president's bedroom? Who used the Wi-Fi? We saw that authorities were looking for answers to all these questions for the last few days. There have been massive levels of arrests recently. A member of the Kelani University Inter-University Students' Federation was abducted yesterday by a white man. They had taken him to an abandoned house. They have asked him questions like, where is the convener of the Inter-University Students' Federation? What is he doing in the boarding house? Where is the Inter-University Students' Federation member, Venerable Koibatuduwe Samitatero? Where is the Kelani University IUSL president? The only answer he can give during this 3-hour interrogation is that the members of the Inter-University Students' Federation are in the universities. Not like we can stay inside Mahinda Rajapaksha's house or Gotabaya Rajapaksha's house or on Ranil Wickremesinghe's lap. Once he says this, the abductors threatened him, saying they will frame him with drug charges and throw him in jail for a few months once he acts out of his place. Once they realize that they cannot get the answers they wanted out of this boy, they dump him in the same place they found him. Now, this is a big problem. We don't even know who abducted this boy. Ranil Wickremesinghe is facilitating the same white van culture brought forward by the Mahinda Rajapaksha regime. Police are present opposite Kelani University and the STF comes and inspects students' vehicles. Intelligence officers are stationed near the university. Is Kelani University a terrorist organization? They are treating other universities the same way. This is a massive problem. These abductors are unacceptable.
විශ්වවිද්‍යාලය කියලා කියන්නේ කො ත්‍රස්ත මධ්‍යස්ථානයද? අනිත් විශ්වවිද්‍යාලත් එහෙම තමයි. ඒතර බරපතල තත්ත්වයක්. ඒතර මේ පැහැර ගැනීම බරපතල තත්ත්වයක්.
Trade unions, mass organizations and political parties are preparing to launch a movement against suppression.
May 9 වෙනිදා මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ
On the 9th of May, when Galle-faced protesters were attacked and Mahinda Rajapaksa resigned as Prime Minister, Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was in the opposition, said he would withdraw any support to the government if the protesters were harmed or if emergency laws were used against them. If that was his stance when in opposition, why is he doing the opposite when in power? The state of emergency was passed in Parliament, Galle-faced protesters were attacked and now they are being arrested. We need to work together to end suppression. Therefore, the political parties and trade unions will together voice their protest against suppression.
11 lawyers from Galle filed a fundamental rights application with the Supreme Court today, alleging that their fundamental rights were violated when security forces obstructed them from engaging in peaceful protest at the Galle fort. The Galle Police OIC, Minor Complaints OIC, Galle SSP, Galle DIG, Army Commanding Officer for Galle, IGP, Ministry of Public Security, Army Commander and the Attorney General were named among the respondents in the application.
Fuel was issued to consumers across the island based on the QR code earlier today. More news on this follows after this short commercial break.
මොකද මහත්තයා මේ
නෑ මේ ගෙදර සිංක් එකේ
අයි මහත්තයා ස්ලෝන් නෙවෙයිද දැම්මේ
හදිස්සියට බාල පයිප්පයක් දැම්මේ නැද්ද මුදලාලි ඊයේ පෙරේදා කඩේ රිපෙයාර් කරන්න ගෙනාපු ගම් චුට්ටක්
මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට හොඳම විසඳුම ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටක් හැබැයි ඉක්මනින් දාගන්න ස්ලෝන් පයිප්පයක්
ස්ලෝන් ගම් චුට්ටා හැම ගෙදරකම සිටිය යුතු ජනනල කාර්මිකයා දැන් රඟම ග්‍රොසරියෙන් මිලදී ගන්න.
Welcome back to the news. Fuel was sold across the island today according to the QR code, also known as the National Fuel Pass. The token system and the license plate number system are therefore no longer valid.
The Ministry of Power and Energy said that almost 5 million vehicles have registered for the National Fuel Pass and 95% of filling stations in Sri Lanka are in line with the QR code system. The ministry went on to note that when distributing fuel, priority will be given to filling stations that have adhered to the QR code system. The Ceylon Petroleum Corporation said that close to 50 filling stations have been unable to follow the QR code system due to technical difficulties. The majority of filling stations issued fuel according to the National Fuel Pass today. Customers at the Hamantota filling station told Newsfirst that the new QR code system made it a lot easier for them to purchase fuel.
මේ දිගටම පාවිච්චි කරනවා හොඳයි. එතකොට මේ තදබදයත් අඩු වෙනවා. මේ මිනිසුන්ට පහසුවකුත් දැනෙනවා.
හොඳයි වගේ මේ ක්‍රමයේ කියන්නේ තෙල් එන්න ඕනේ සෙට් වලට ඒකයි. නැත්තම් මිනිස්සු අනාථයි. තෙල් නැති වුණොත් මේ ක්‍රමය හරියන්නේ නැහැ. ඉතින්
ගොඩක්ම තදබදේ අඩු වෙයි කියලා අපිට හිතෙනවා මේ ක්‍රමවේදය ඉස්සරහට සාර්ථකව කරගෙන යන්න සියලුම ජනතාව රටේ ජනතාවත් එක්කම සහ ඉන්ධන පිරෝම්හල් හිමියොත් අපිට සහයෝගය ලබා දුන්නොත් මේක නිසියාකාරව අපිට කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා අපි හිතනවා.
Fuel was distributed according to the National Fuel Pass at the cooperative filling station on the Kandy Peradeniya road as well. The Madampe Cooperative Filling Station also distributed fuel according to the National Fuel Pass today. The Kalutara Division of Secretariat Office staff also supported the Vaskadua filling station to issue fuel according to the National Fuel Pass.
මේක ඉතාමත්ම හොඳ ක්‍රමයක් මිනිසුන්ට පහසුවෙන් තමන්ට අවශ්‍ය තෙල් ප්‍රමාණය ගහගෙන ඒ සතියේ දෙන තෙල් ප්‍රමාණයෙන් ගමන් බිමන් මැනේජ් කරගන්න පුළුවන් ක්‍රමයක් හඳුන්වා දීම පිළිබඳ කනිජ තෙල් අමාත්‍යවරයාට පෞද්ගලිකවම ස්තුතිවන්ත වෙනවා.
Our Newsfirst correspondent reported that the Hingurakkoda Cooperative Filling Station issued fuel according to the National Fuel Pass today. This was the situation at filling stations across the island today.
The price of Lanka auto diesel has been revised with effect from tonight. The price of a litre of auto diesel has therefore been reduced by 10 rupees. A litre which used to cost 440 rupees therefore has now been reduced to 430 rupees.
The Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka approved power cuts of 3 hours for the 2nd of August as follows. Groups A to W, 1 hour and 40 minutes during daytime and 1 hour and 20 minutes during night time. Groups CC, 2 hours and 30 minutes from 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Groups MNOXYZ, 3 hours from 5:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m.
Litro says that gas prices are likely to drop this week.
Litro Gas Lanka said that the prices of domestic cooking gas cylinders will be reduced from the 5th of August. Litro chairman Mudita Pires said the decision was made considering the drop in prices in the world market. As per the pricing formula, we can say that by the 5th of August, the prices will be reduced. Therefore, if anyone is holding stocks, now is the time to release them to the market. This is because the prices will definitely drop on the 5th of August.
The 5 million money drop, a global phenomenon broadcast in over 54 territories, over 2,500 episodes aired worldwide, named the most valuable TV show in Europe, the multiple award-winning TV game show that will keep you glued to your seat, a commercial sensation, breaking TV and online records across the globe. The 5 million money drop. Coming soon on Sirasa TV, the People's Channel. 5 million money drop, Sri Lanka.
Is there turmoil within political parties? During a media briefing today, the SLPP elaborated on why Ranil Wickremesinghe was backed for presidency.
Why have we decided to support Ranil Wickremesinghe? You cannot hand over the reins to an amateur captain when a ship is sailing across the Bermuda Triangle. We have officially acknowledged his political ability and experience. Some people are accusing this of an attempt to safeguard the members of the Pothole. I say this with accountability. We, the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana, have not in any way sought political assistance or security from the president.
Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana දේශපාලන ව්‍යාපාරයක් විදිහටවත් ගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමන්ගෙන් කිසිදු පෞද්ගලික රැකවරණයක් අපේක්ෂා කරන්නේ නැහැ.
If an all-party government is to be established, then we must be partakers of that government, because it is the Sri Lanka Podujana Perumana that holds the majority in parliament to this very day. A government cannot function without the support of the SLPP in this parliament. Therefore, we need to discuss and come to an agreement with the president.
සම්බන්ධයෙන් තීන්දුවක් තීරණයක් ගන්න ඕනේ. ඔබතුමාලාගේ දැන් පක්ෂේ දැන් මේනකොට දැන් නායකයා කවුද කියලා හොයාගන්න බැරි තත්ත්වයක් වෙනවා. අපේ පක්ෂේ නායකයා මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ශ්‍රී ලංකා
Mahinda Rajapaksa is the leader of the SLPP. Members of the SLPP have no contradictions regarding this matter. Conspirators might have issues, but we are not concerned about those matters. However, those who went astray have now realized what's right and are having discussions to come back to the right track and unite.
කරුණු තේරුම් ගන්න ඔවුන් අපිත් සමග නැවත එකතු වෙන්න අවශ්‍ය කතා කරනවා. ශ්‍රී ලංකා රජයට සම්පූර්ණ
The Sri Lankan government has a responsibility to facilitate the former president's requirement to come back to the island as he is a legal citizen of Sri Lanka. I don't think people should cause such a commotion regarding the matter.
ලංකාවට පැමිණීම කියන එක විශේෂ සිදුවීමක් හැටියට සලකන්න ඕන දෙයක් හැටියට.
Meanwhile, the leader of the opposition says the solution to the issues faced by the people is not switching heads. We hear of various avenues that need to be undertaken to steer the country into the correct path. However, all these discussions are linked to changing heads, while there are many other MPs who are awaiting benefits. Rather than burdening the people, we need to put forward practical solutions to the people's issues. We believe that everyone in Parliament must come together to join a program to build the nation. It is time for the program to be realized. It is not the time for the survival of politicians alone. It is time for the survival of 22 million people. In news from Cabinet, Minister Kanchana Wijesekara said that the Cabinet granted approval to commence restructuring the Ceylon Electricity Board. At the same time, Justice Minister Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa says that the Cabinet granted approval for the draft 22nd Amendment to the Constitution. In more local news, Parliamentarian Vimal Veeravansa says that the President cannot win the trust of the public and political parties by appointing his earlier advisers when forming an all-party government.
MP Vimal Veeravansa has written to the President as a response to the letter sent by the President to all MPs regarding an all-party government. In the letter, he pointed out that an all-party conference must be convened to solve the current crisis. He points out that learning from the mistakes of former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who acted unilaterally and arbitrarily when solving the economic crisis, is of utmost importance.
News First with the people.
Sri Lanka's Chintana Geetal Vidanage participated in the men's 81 kg weightlifting event at this year's Commonwealth Games.
ඇත්ත කෙටියෙන් දත්ත වැඩියෙන් සයිබර් අවකාශයේ කලබන වුවත් සලකුණ News First YouTube channel එක අදම subscribe කරන්න. News First ජනතාව සමග.
The second phase of the Divi Savia program continues. The program, supported by LOLC Holdings to uplift the lives of poverty-stricken families, was held in the Mana district today.
It's day 26th of the Divi Savia program, which was carried out in the Mana district today. The program was launched from the Sirutopa village in Mana. Today, essential relief packages are being distributed among families in 3 areas in the Mana district. The Divi Savia program strives to support low-income families struggling in the midst of the prevailing economic crisis.
Speaker of the House of Representatives Nancy Pelosi confirms she will visit 4 Asian countries amid speculation she might visit Taiwan, fueling US tensions with Beijing. I'm Ratnayaka. Take care.